Hello and welcome to day 2 of Pathway to 17 Summit. You are here within the inclusive digital finance stream. Our session is called Reducing the Mobile or Digital Gender Gap, and we're talking about the solutions and the lessons learned. This is the panel session, and I have here with me panelists. The first one I'll introduce is Kwaku Acheampong. He is a project lead within financial inclusion and enterprise development at Sinapi Abba Savings and Loans. Welcome, Kwaku.
Thank you very much, Tariro.
Thank you. And my second panelist is Wisdom Alorwuse. Wisdom is the African lead at Strategic Impact Advisors. Welcome, Wisdom.
Awesome having me here. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but definitely not least, we have a female CEO and founder with us. Thank you very much, Lauren Hendricks from Keephone, based in Uganda. Welcome. All right, so I'll get straight into the questions. We're talking about gender gap. We're talking about mobile. We know that the growth of mobile has been phenomenal, and its use as a tool for financial inclusion is well known. Now, they say, I think just starting with the data, the latest GSMA mobile gender gap report says about 3.2 billion people in low to middle income countries now access the internet over a mobile phone. So getting back to how mobile is such a great tool, and that mobile is the primary tool that men and women use to access internet. And 85% of that is the broadband connections. Now, talking about gender gap specifically, women are said to be 18% less likely to own a smartphone. Now, going specific to the device. And then in terms of mobile internet use, the gender gap is 16%, which is, 16%. So my first question now, and I want everybody to start, first of all, because we're talking about solutions, first of all, talk about the solution you're speaking on, and then respond to my question. And I'll start with you, Wisdom, right? So tell us about the Hey Sister, Show Me the Money mobile campaign, and then bring the Ghana context there and give us some of the gender gaps and your lessons learned from that campaign. Wisdom?
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thanks everyone for having me today. So interestingly, Hey Sister, Show Me the Mobile Money is actually a digital financial literacy program, which is actually funded by USAID, and it is publicly available, open source, audio-based digital literacy curriculum that we developed, which has a proven record of increasing women confidence, and then the use of digital financial services. One thing that was very critical for us about this particular program when we started at latter part of 2020 was that we wanted to understand what sort of landscape information that are available when it comes to digital financial literacy and then also digital literacy. But then we realized that there were only few that were available that has a component of digital literacy and then also digital financial literacy. So we decided that we're going to be developing a short bite learning material, which will actually improve retention of women in lower income countries, and also in the form of power storytelling. So we developed 25 audio-based lessons, which we actually worked with women who are in the rural areas, who work directly with financial institutions, women economic empowerment organizations, agribusinesses, and the likes. And one thing that we look out for in developing the audio is that with audio, there is no literacy barrier when it comes to impacting people. And it's also a low cost tool to produce, and it could be produced in multiple languages. And finally, I would say that it is scalable for individual listening, either through smartphone, basic smart handsets, and then any other devices. So for us as SIA, after delivering this content for over a year to 2 years, we had some huge lessons that we are so excited to share today. So when we started this whole campaign, we started off here in Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and then also Malawi, and then some part of Uganda as well. And what is very interesting about this particular content is that it gives women avenue to learn in smaller groups without necessarily using big gadgets. Okay, and once it's a standardized lesson curriculum, which is short bites, you can be able to listen remotely from anywhere. And then also it's product agnostic products, which can easily identify by different audience, okay? And we actually adopted 3 women archetypes, okay? Where women in the rural areas are able to identify very easily, okay? Another key lesson, which is very intriguing, I like to share is that it's actually content that grows organically, okay, with exposure and then also empowering household people, okay. Then also, I would say that it is a content that easily correlates, okay, with DFS behavior update. Okay, so once people listen to the content, they are able to make meaningful discussion when it comes to adopting digital financial services. And that is not the only program that we are also running. We have the Smartphone Smart Business program as well, where we are providing smartphone to women, okay, in the bottom of the pyramid at a subsidized fee, okay? So as we are paying almost 75% of the smartphone, where the women are only paying for 25. And this is a very great learning program that we believe strongly that other institutions should also be looking at expanding in the larger perspective. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Wisdom, for that. And I think digital literacy is very important, especially for women who feel very vulnerable sometimes when they're using smartphones or just the internet in general. I think there could be so many predators there that access to my privacy, access to my money. I mean, those are really things that make us very insecure. No matter if you are a low-income woman, low literacy or high literacy, I mean, just your privacy is so key. I wanted to hear from Lauren, just an additional comment to this Hey Sister campaign, digital literacy, and how it enhances the uptake of digital financial services. What have you, and some of the solutions that he's commented, what can you say there, Lauren?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Hey Sister is one of our partners. We put it on our devices and push it out through our platform because we think you know, women's digital literacy and women's understanding of the risks and the opportunities that smartphones can offer them is really critical to them being successful users of those phones and of those devices. And what we've really found is that women have a lot of fears around the risks that they take with those phones. And so providing content like Hey Sister can really help alleviate those risks. Like, and you know, we know that there are, you know, GSMA has kind of identified kind of 3 key barriers to phone ownership. There's the cost of devices and cost of data, there's knowledge and information, and then there's social and cultural norms. And I think programs like Hey Sister really get directly at that knowledge and of how to use devices and knowledge of the systems and really kind of help to overcome some of those key barriers to women being successful users of smartphones.
Thank you very much, Lauren. And I'll come to you, Kwaku, from Sinapi. Tell us about Sinapi and then give us some on-ground barriers that you know working at Sinapi and working with real women there in your context in Ghana. What's happening really? Kwaku, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was saying thank you and really excited to be here. So just briefly about Snappy before I go into the on-ground issue. So basically, Snappy actually started in 1994, actually with a very clear vision to support the economically active poor. So over the years, we've really championed financial inclusion in the Ghanaian market, basically by serving the low-income entrepreneurs with quite a number of holistic financial services. Over the years, we have actually moved from one step to the other in terms of the product offering. In 2019, we did launch our first digital platform, which has come to be more or less the leader in terms of our financial inclusion drive. Very recently, in 2021, we launched a study to look at the critical barriers which were really hampering women from using the service, because we got to know that there was a 39% gender gap in usage of our digital platform. So what did our study really find out? We did see, just like Lauren just mentioned, there are inhibiting cultural norms which really are putting women in the back burner. And these are really discouraging a lot of women to actually partake in the financial space. So generally, the research was telling us that women are actually not so much involved. They don't have that sort of financial freedom and financial independence. Of course, the statistics on education and girl-child education remain staggering. Again, our research also did reveal that there is really a clear knowledge gap, which really hampers female ability to financial information, and as such affects financial literacy, just like my brother did mention earlier on. We did also find out that women really have very less access to technology, and this is really hampering, and again, having a toll on our digital platform that we actually have introduced. Safety and security issues, of course, remain very disproportionately affect women. So effectively, we did see through our findings that all these were really not contributing, were affecting women's contribution to the entire socio-economic environment. But just a few factors that did stand out for us. Trust, something that was not so much known to us, was one of the key issues that came up strongly on our study. We did realize that trust and confidence in digital systems was very, very low amongst the women that were participating on our digital platform. So this became more or less a very inhibiting factor why some of the women were not really engaged on our digital platforms. Again, another key point which I would also want to emphasize here was that we did realize that reaching women with the usual channels, which I mean, it's meant to target all, was not ideal. So these are the key factors that we have come to see, and follow on probably in my next submission. I will be aligning some of the things that we have done to really relay these barriers and ensure that we are able to include and engage women on the digital platforms.
Well, thank you very much, Kwaku, highlighting trust in the technology. Now, Wisdom, can you comment on that? You're also in Ghana. Do you talk about trust in the Hey Sister campaign and what to do when the technology let us down? What can DFS providers or players in the market really do about trust?
Very good question coming from you. Thanks a lot. I would say that trust is a major impediment when it comes to the adoption of digital financial services, okay? And that is the more reason why, I mean, there should be a strategic alliance, okay, among development organizations here in Ghana, financial institutions, the central bank, to actually come out with, standardized content, okay? So standardized content that really address the needs of women in the rural areas. One thing that we did on the Hey Sister campaign, which really won the women, and we're able to reach about 70,000 people in the space of about 14 months in Ghana, is that we actually develop a trainer models, okay, where we engage the community leaders, lead trainers, build their capacity to really understand what the digital financial literacy content is about, what sort of impact it's going to be making to the women, and not only the women, but also the men alike, their household. Okay, so once you continue to do this, build the capacity of the men, the community leaders, lead farmers, and then lead trainers, they are able to carry on the training and then be able to spread it across the various areas. And one thing that I want to talk about is that every country have its own cultural norms, okay, which you need to really look out for when developing digital financial literacy materials. You need to understand the cultural norms and then be able to develop content that really, one way or the other, help to address those norms. So once you're able to address those norms, you are sure that certainly people will be able to buy in and then be able to listen to the content and then make meaningful decisions when it comes to adopting digital financial services. Thank you.
Thank you, Wisdom. And you talked about social norms. Kwaku also talked about social norms. They're really a huge barrier or a limiting factor that brings women back. But let me go to Lauren, who is a woman and the CEO and the founder. You are reducing the mobile and digital gender gap with Keyphone. Tell us about Keyphone and some of the lessons learned and challenges that you faced when you're initiating or implementing this project.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And I will definitely get back to the gender norms as I'm talking, because it's so relevant on phone ownership in a lot of these contexts. So Keyphone is a relatively new company. I come from a development background, and I launched Keyphone actually almost exactly a year ago, October 2021. And our mission is to provide free data and devices to the 70% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa that is currently unconnected. And we focus exclusively on smartphones. We do that by financing our data and our phones through lock screen advertising. So the lock screen is that first screen that shows up when you turn on your phone. It has the time and the date on it. We put advertising directly on that screen, and that's how we generate our revenue. And so in doing that, we become not just a place for advertising, but really a place for content delivery. And we'd like to think of ourselves as kind of a content platform. And this gets back to the fact that, you know, we're putting things like Hey Sisters digital literacy content on our phones and sending it out to our users free of charge, so that not only are they receiving kind of advertising content, which helps pay our bills, but they're also receiving content which can make them more effective users of their phones. We're also partnered with the US Embassy in Kampala, for example, to push out COVID-19 content so that the people who are using our devices or are using our app can get information that can be helpful and useful to them. So we kind of work in two ways. One is that we partner with organizations on the ground that have groups of women already organized. So Opportunity Bank, CARE, groups that have women organized in kind of credit and savings groups, and that have women that are economically active and engaged in entrepreneurship. And we distribute free phones to those women, and they come with our app pre-installed. But we're also an app that's available on Google Play Store. Anyone can download it, and then they'll see the content on their phones. Part of what we do is called rewarded content. So when people watch ads, they can earn points, and they can then redeem those points for data and airtime. We know that in Africa, data and airtime is so expensive, so much more expensive than the rest of the world. And it's a huge barrier to people that own devices, but can't use them very regularly. They don't get online with them because of the cost of data. And so we really want to not just overcome the access to devices barrier, but overcome the barrier to people using those phones regularly. Yeah, as I was saying, so we can put out on our platform both kind of video and banner content. So with that video content, we're able to air things like commercials, but also like I said, able to air informational and entertaining content as well. We find that, because you had asked about usage, Tariro, we find that 90% of the women that we give phones to use them on a monthly basis. 35% of them use them on a daily basis. So people, and that's just getting into our app, not using the phone. Most of them report to us that they use the phone regularly. Many of them actually have set times of day that they use the phone. They'll say, I'll use it for an hour in the morning, and then I'll go, for people who are engaged in smallholder agriculture, you know, I'll go out to the field, and then when I get home, I'll use it for an hour at night. So they're very kind of interesting, like regimented and thoughtful about when they use it. One of the things that we learned early in the work that we're doing is that gender barriers are significant and real for women in using phones. we had an incident with one of our partners where we gave a woman a phone and she was the victim of abuse from her husband because of it. And that's not something that we want to, be involved in. At the same time, we really believe that women deserve access to resources. So what we did was, one of our partners is CARE. They have a fabulous gender GBV program called Gender Dialogues. So we've adapted that from them. So a week before we do phone distributions, we do a GBV and gender awareness training session with the women that we're going to give the phones to. We ask them to invite their partners, and we facilitate a dialogue between the woman and her partner is part of the group about the phone. What are they going to use the phone for? What are the risks to the phone? What are the worries that the husband have? And try and facilitate a conversation and a dialogue at that household level about whether they want the phone. And then it's up to the woman. It's her decision whether she wants to take that phone or not, but at least she's had an informed conversation with her household and with her spouse about it before she makes that decision. So I do think that, and I can talk more about some of the gender issues, but I do think that being aware of kind of social and cultural norms around smartphone ownership in particular are really important if we're going to kind of continue down this road. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. And such an issue there, that even owning a phone can present a social problem in your household. And we know that already. It's the data is there that women use the phone or the internet less than men. I don't know, Kwaku, if you can comment on that from your side, when women are accessing your products digitally and the phone usage, and some of the examples that you have experienced to that match what Lauren is saying here.
Yes, I think the information is spot on. You do find that phone usage can really create a number of issues in the home, just like Lauren talked about. But I think in our case, what we have tried to do has been about ability to purchase the phones itself. So for instance, we are offering a USSD based service rather than an app, mainly to ensure that we are able to serve these low income groups that we have so much dear on our hearts. So we do believe whilst smartphone penetration continues to increase within the sub-region, we do believe that, again, within the low-income groups, especially within the vulnerable groups that we serve, women, these are still very, very expensive for them. So one of the things that we actually are doing in our own small ways to make sure that whatever digital platforms that we are given out to the women customers, is it possible to actually provide it in a much friendlier channel like USSD? Are we able to offer training using Wisdom already talked about IVR, such that the women can would still not have to go and purchase a new phone, and possibly the women will still not have to get internet, which is also a very scarce commodity, especially in the region here. So women will still don't have to go and look for the Wi-Fi in order to be able to access digital literacy material, whatever it is. But we are able to offer this information with whatever device that they do have. So I believe the ownership is an issue, and again, gaining access to whatever resource that we are providing is also very core to the heart of the issue.
Yeah.
All right, Kwaku, thank you very much. Now I'm going to.
Can I jump in real quick? Do you mind, Tariro? Because I think Kwaku just gave the perfect explanation of why we started Keyphone. Because look at everything Sanapi Abba is trying to do to overcome the fact that women don't have smartphones. And I mean, they're doing a phenomenal job, right? They're creating all these alternative platforms, alternative routes, USSD, IVR. So it's expensive for them. And women are still receiving subpar services, which is, it's not Sanapi's fault, right? But USSD is complicated. It's, it's difficult to use. It's still a lower level of services than you can get off their app, I'm sure. So Sanapi's having to bend over backwards, create all of this extra stuff. Women are still getting subpar services, all because they don't own a smartphone and because of this digital gender gap. And I just really think we need to invest more in overcoming this whether it's key phone or anything else. How do we overcome the digital gap, gender gap in smartphone ownership for women?
Yeah. Tara, would you mind I add one point?
Sure.
I think the conversation is getting interesting. So coming from where Kwaku and then Lauren just ended, to be honest with you, we have moved to a level whereby we really need advocacies around smartphone subsidization for women in the rural areas in Africa. The honest truth is that the cost of smartphone is extremely high, okay? And these women have shown interest per the work that we have done on smartphone subsidization project in Ghana. We had a couple of learnings which are very tremendous. Women have shown interest that they would like to use smartphone to really promote their businesses and also enhance their family lives, but they are not able to cater for the cost. So seriously, we need advocacies around this where development organizations, central banks, financial institutions will come together and provide smartphone subsidies for women to be able to adopt and enhance their businesses. There is a need for central banks to look at reducing the taxes of smartphones, okay? So that the actual price of, baseline smartphones will be okay for women to be able to purchase, which will one way or the other enhance them. Now, one key lesson that we also learned is that when women have access to smartphone, they are able to advertise their wares, even on WhatsApp, put it on their status for people to view and then make purchases. They are able to load that on Facebook, they are able to load that on e-commerce platform, which one way or the other is leading towards enhancement of their economic life. So we really need to make sure that there is a strong advocacy around this area to make smartphone affordable for women. Thank you.
All right, Wisdom, thank you for that. And you know what, just to give a real life example of myself, you'll be surprised that the phone that I owned before wasn't that much of a great phone. And there are reasons why women don't invest so much in a really fancy smartphone, right? Because it's expensive. And we have other things that we are taking care of that are more important, that we think are more important than us. But as soon as I upgraded, the advantages, okay, that it brought to my life that I was missing out on, that I thought, well, because, I have other big important things to do. I'm a mother, it really is a great tool to have, just to add that. Now, I'm going to come back to you, Lauren, on these partnerships with financial institutions. I don't know what sort of partnerships you're having so that you can subsidize, you can provide that smartphone to that woman who needs it at a low cost. What are you doing?
I want to be clear, we provide the phones free. There's no cost to the woman.
Yeah.
So again, our revenue is solely generated through advertising. And there's so many businesses out there that want to reach these women, right? There's agricultural input suppliers, there's development organizations, there's fast moving consumer goods. Lots of people want to reach these women. The issue, if you could just spread that cost out, Wisdom, you're talking about the cost of phones, but truthfully, you can get a good kind of ITEL Techno smartphone, 2 gigs of processing, 32 gigs of memory for $55. It is not an overwhelming cost if you can spread that cost out over all the people that want to reach those women.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tariro, I got off on a tangent and I forgot your original question. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And I want to come back to Kwaku. Sorry about that. I'm all over the place. Kwaku, a question to you. Let's bring it back to women as SMEs or smallholder farmers or micro SMEs. How are your products helping this? Yeah, tell us, give us some insights there.
Sure, all right. Thank you very much. I think it's really exciting. I am really I really wanted to go back into it, but let's move on. I think we'll have an opportunity to look at the phone issues once again. Yes, so for SMEs, I think that is one core area which our interest does lie. So I did mention that our digital platform actually is a mobile banking platform. So basically we are offering a platform which allows the SME to actually bank at his or her own doorstep. I would like to mention that 75% actually of our customer base are women. So the core of our digital platform is built and designed with them at heart. So we have built platforms which really allows these women, for instance, to access their money wherever they are. Basically, we do know the informal nature of the SME business in Ghana and for Africa for that matter. So building solutions of this nature require that you should be able to allow this flexibility for the SME entrepreneur to make payments to his or her own suppliers in convenience. So you have to really get into collaborations with all the needed platforms, which allows for the SME entrepreneur to actually make payments to and fro the different banks. And this is the system that we've been able to build, make sure that they are able to process their transactions within seconds because they want to make payments, they want to receive payments, make sure that they are able to work hours, because one of the key things that we did realize and that actually is true is that most of these SME women that we deal with usually would not want to leave their places of work and actually to go for a bank because they know that time is money, and as they lose the time to go to the bank, it's actually money. So you have to be able to provide these resources in their shops, wherever they are, so that they would really have 24/7 visibility to their accounts and transact. So Sinapi has been able to provide this solution in collaboration with the Ghana integration GIPS, Ghana Interpayment Systems and Settlements, which offers our SME customers a unique digital code, sort of an identity which allows for the SME to be able to receive payments in his own convenience. So the SME is digitally identified by anybody, so far as the person has a bank account or the person has a mobile wallet, the person is in a position to make payments from his or her mobile wallet or his bank account to the SME, and the money is such that it can hit the SME's account in real time. Again, the SME has access to these to this funds or these payments that are going on in his or her account, such that the SME can actually view, monitor the transactions, perform reconciliation using a web application. So this gives our SMEs and particularly our female SMEs a step ahead, because it gives them that sort of confidence and that sort of enhancement in their operations, such that they are receiving digital payments, they are making digital payments, they are able to check these digital payments. A lot of these, usually these tools, you would find that some in times past, these days, the banks would actually purchase a POS system and come and put it in the shops and all that. These usually would come with some cost and fees, which will weigh down the SME because the bank definitely has to pay for these. These two platforms that I'm telling you about actually is designed at so much minimal cost, such that the SME would certainly not have to pay anything at all. Neither do his or her customers who will be paying him on a regular basis have to pay any fees at all. Ordinarily in Ghana, if somebody is to make mobile money payments, there is a charge associated. But these collaborations that we've been able to do to have this merchant payment systems come such that customers who are paying these merchants do not have to pay anything, and thus offers our SMEs a very good route to be able to manage their finances and be able to manage their businesses in a much proper way. So this is something that we have done. And again, we believe that there is a lot more that we are doing to support and make sure that the SMEs are able to improve their businesses much, much more.
Thank you, Kwaku. And I think the growth of merchant payments also shows you how mobile as a tool is becoming more popular, or is becoming more relevant as a use case for everyone, including women. Now, as we move to digitize economies, right? As we get more digital in our societies, right? What is the future? What do you see in terms of women and the gaps that we have? Are they still going to be left behind? I'm going to direct this question to Wisdom first. And we're going to be left, what do you see in the future as the landscape changes? After COVID and post-COVID, we're getting more digital. What do you think, Wisdom?
All right, thanks very much for that question. I think that the future is looking very good. Okay, COVID have actually come in to really reduce the gap, according to the Hendricks reports, and then also the report provided by GSMA. I would say that what is very critical at this point going forward is that we need to have providers, stakeholders, really coming out with customized contents, okay? Content that could be customized to their locations. Because one thing that is very critical at this point is that if you really want to reduce the gap further, you need to make sure you provide content that women will see value in, okay? You don't just provide a blanket content and then spread it across every community. The content should be user-friendly to the women in the bottom of the pyramid, solving their problems. So that is why I see Hey Sister as the right tool going forward into the future, because we kind of provided contents where people can just look at it and say that, okay, if I really want to reduce the gaps in the area of fraud in the rural areas, here are the contents. If I really want to improve upon account uptake, here are the contents that we do have. If I really want to provide tips to women micro entrepreneurs, enhancing their business with adoption of digital tools, here are the content. So we believe that the content should be standardized, okay, identifying the needs of the women in the bottom of the pyramid. And like I said earlier on as well, there is a strong call for the need for the central bank to be up and doing in the area of pushing digitization in the bottom of the pyramid. I see a lot of development organizations doing this. FCDO is doing this, USAID is doing this, and then UNCDF. They are really inculcating digital literacy training in most of their programming. So that is actually the way to go. You cannot really have an impact without making sure that you train the women in the bottom of the pyramid. So the future is looking quite good, but then there should be more advocacies around reducing the cost of smartphone, also identifying the needs of the women in the bottom of the pyramid, providing contents that really solve their problems, and then also measuring some of these initiatives to make sure that it's really related to uptake of digital financial services. Thank you.
Thank you, Wisdom. And I'll move to you, Lauren. Now, you spoke about a woman who's been given a free smartphone, and they probably use it at a certain time, and you give them this content that's relevant, that will give them more insights into what they're doing, and also earn points. I mean, that's a very sophisticated kind of product that you're giving this woman. As we move into a more digitized society, how do you see, what do you see the future looking like for this woman? Is she going to be safe? Her consumer data, is she feeling more and more confident about her literacy levels to use this smartphone that you've given to her?
Yeah, I mean, I think more and more being digitally connected is going to be, kind of table stakes for women. It is going to be the bare minimum that they need to engage. An example, we're working with Safe Boda, which is a Boda taxi system, right, in Uganda. Everybody knows Safe Boda. And they don't have female drivers, and so they've been doing a program to get to train and encourage female drivers. But one of the biggest barrier is the female drivers don't have smartphones, and so they can't download the Safe Boda app on which all of this rides, right? It's like Uber, you can't call an Uber without the app. The driver has to have it, you have to have it. And so we've come in to provide smartphones to those women so that they can have the Safe Boda app and become drivers. So I just think in the future that being digitally connected is going to be the basic minimum people need to be economically active. Wisdom was talking about selling on WhatsApp. It's the number one question we get from our women. Like, can you now that I'm on, can you tell me how to get on WhatsApp so I can start selling? At the same time, I think digital connection is going to be the bare minimum for economic engagement. And so then what are the opportunities and risks that come with that, particularly around kind of data and consumer, is something I think we need to really as a community think about. Obviously, there's huge opportunity. Consumer data is just being sucked up and hoovered up more and more, and that comes with great opportunities for people. They can get more targeted advertising. They can, there's great value that comes to them in having people have their digital information. They can create credit profiles. At the same time, there are disadvantages. There are extreme risks for data theft. Their data can profile them in ways that they don't want to be profiled. And so, but yet at the same time, they have very little understanding. I don't understand how my data gets used half the time. People who you're just teaching to swipe, they have no idea what the cloud means, what algorithms are. So there's, I think, a real obligation on us to step in and develop with governments, with private sector, protocols and codes of conduct around data that create value for the people who are giving up their data, but at the same time, protect them.
Thank you, Lauren. And a question has just come up from our audience there. Lauren, curious to see if Keyphone have done some thinking about what is a good smartphone price for someone living on $3 to $6 a day. $55 would still be significant. 2.5 to 5% of the total income. In that context, even if spread out, I know your model is trying to lower these costs. Do you have a pricing goal that you've seen in Uganda? Can you speak to that, Lauren?
Yeah, sorry, and I hope I didn't create any confusion, but when I talk about spreading the cost out, I'm talking about spreading the cost out among advertisers or groups that want to reach the women that we give the free phones to. The phones that we give out are free, so there's no cost to the end user. We are looking at adopting with one of our banking partners a financing model. So for people who are maybe slightly up the economic curve, something that allows them to make a small down payment, get the phone on financing terms, and then use the points that they earn from watching the ads to repay the loan. So to the end user, it's still a relatively low cost phone, just the cost of the down payment. They can use their points to pay it off, but maybe slightly above who we traditionally target. But really what we're looking at is, and I think Kwaku, Sanapi, as soon as we come to Ghana, Sanapi is one of our big targets to partner with. But, he was talking about these SMEs that he works with and bringing them online so they can do their banking digitally so that they can accept digital payments. Well, I'm sure there are women who are SME banking partners for Sanapi who aren't able to use this platform because they don't have smartphones. We want to come in and provide smartphones to those women. We know that they're economically active. We know that they will benefit from having those phones. Why should we let $55 be the barrier to that? So if we can spread that cost out over advertisers, give the woman the phone for free, that's what we're looking to do.
But just
yeah,
another question.
Again.
aren't there incidences of someone selling that phone for $55 or once off $55 how do you manage that risk? Kifo?
So side selling was definitely one of our big risks, and it's been something that's happened in other free phone programs. I think two things are helping avoid that for us. One is that we're also providing data. So it's no good to provide somebody a phone if the data is so expensive that they can't use it, right? Then of course they'll sell it. Why wouldn't they? It's an asset that they have no use for. But at the same time, we are trying to provide phones to women who are in some type of group, whether it's a savings and credit group, whether it's I'm attached to Sanapi Abba, so I know that they're going to be following up with me to make sure I still have that phone. So something that creates social pressure on them to keep the phone and to use it.
All right. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, Kwaku, I'm closing down Wisdom, sorry, and I need Kwaku's opinion on the future. Kwaku, your solutions are very sophisticated. You are meeting the woman where she is. You are giving her what she needs now. But we're getting into a highly digitized society. I don't know if USSD will survive in the future. Tell us, what do you think?
Yes, thank you very much. So I strongly have a lot of hope for the future. Yes, you did mention whether USSD will survive. USSD is thriving, and that is not the only solutions that we have for customers. I believe strongly that it's sort of a very targeted, marketed approach. And again, I believe that the digitization agenda is so much ripe currently, such that targeting low-income groups and marginalized groups is more or less the way to go. For us as a savings and loans company and a banking institution, I think I do agree a lot so much with what Wisdom and Lauren have said. There is so much training and advocacy that is going on within the development space. The banks have actually joined in now because clearly there's no point putting out the digital platform and the usage is so low. You end up losing a lot because there's so much capital investment developing these the platforms. And so the key for us, the future for us, is making sure that we do handholding, making sure that we train a lot of these customers. I would have loved to show you some of the digital tools that we've been able to roll out that is teaching customers on their phones how to participate. So apart from the USSD, we also do have a mobile app that we've rolled out. This has educational materials that is teaching customers how we want them to actually transact, how we want them to, and these are engaging. These are done in videos. So they are that engaging that you get the customers, especially the vulnerable, the marginalized groups, to get them to watch them, get them to use them, and make sure that they are actually participating. The more reason why we are so fascinated about the future is that we have put in place a lot of plans such that we are able to support customers remotely. There is a call center in place which is giving regular calls to customers. Our staff that are on the field are regularly attending to these customers to ensure that they are using these. You do know for sure that building branches with brick and mortar is more or less becoming a thing of the past now. Banking is going digital. So it is in our interest to get the women digital. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, the good percentage of our customer base is women. So why would you not engage these women moving into the future? So I believe the digital space for the low-income groups, for the marginalized, is huge. They are the largest population that we have to serve. They are the largest population that we have to provide these services and get them engaged.
I think that's a great way to wrap up. Thank you very much, Kwaku, and thank you to my panelists, Lauren and Wisdom. We have had so much fun discussing, and I think we need another hour to get into more solutions in the future. But thank you to our audience for joining us. We are going. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tariro.